How about never? Does that make
Works for me. I thought I might have a little itch in my throat today, but
Okay, everyone. Hello, good evening. Welcome. Thank you all for being here. I love the energy in the room. The good conversations I'm sure are taking place. I just want us to get underway promptly. The time is now 6:35 and we have a hard stop for this room at 9:15. Hopefully that will give us plenty of time, but I know sometimes our meetings can go a little long and I want to make sure we've had time for a full discussion. So with that, I will ask Carrie to read the roll call.
Sure. Chair Baker,
Here.
Vice Chair Pickett,
here,
Connor Gorman,
Here.
Ellie Kaplan,
here,
Amir Cole,
Yep.
Dima Tamimi,
here.
and I'll note that Felix Alvarez is going to be absent tonight, and Edgar Wong Chen will be arriving probably around 7 o'clock or so. And then we've got Council Liaison Linda Diaz here, and I think that is everybody.
Great, thank you. Okay, we have a quorum. Our next item of business is approval of the agenda. And if you all will indulge me as your facilitator, I think it will be the most efficient use of our time tonight and accommodating also commissioners' schedules if we just revise the agenda order a little bit so that we can focus on some of the primary work of the commission. And that would be to move item D, which is the committee updates, right after item A. This is under number 6. So after 6A, we will go to 6D and then pick up with the remainder of the agenda. So
After 6A,
after 6A, we will go to 6D and then we will pick up with 6B and C.
Do you need somebody to second it?
Well, and I don't think we need a motion. We can do it by unanimous consent unless there is a need for a motion.
We need a
But-
motion to just approve the agenda, so.
Oh, okay, let's approve the agenda just if, with that change, if there is willingness to do that.
I can second that.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? And the motion carries unanimously. Thank you. We are on then to brief announcements from staff, commissioners, and liaisons. In addition to the announcement Carrie made earlier, I just wanted to note that we have 2 new high school student ex officio members that unfortunately are unable to join us tonight because of illness, but we look forward to welcoming them soon. And we also received notice that our UC Davis ex officio student rep, Daniel Mojica, is unable to continue in that role. So we want to thank Daniel for his service and wish him the best in his future endeavors. And that completes the announcements I wanted to offer. There's, Carrie, would you?
Yeah, I just wanted to let the commission know that the Pride Festival is June 7th this year, and typically the HRC does have a booth there. So I will send out a kind of a sign up for you guys to select shifts if you're interested in working, and I will sign up the booth with the Pride Festival folks, but want to let you guys know that.
Great, always a great event. Thank you for everything you do, Carrie, to help put that on and organize, and look forward to participating in that.
Carrie, was that morning or afternoon?
The Pride Festival last year, and to clarify, I don't do anything for that event, but I do enjoy them.
Well, I'll
Other
see
than
you
helping
there,
with
so.
your booth. I'll help you with your booth. It's usually all day. But Laney, I can get back to you on that. I just need to look at the email.
No.
Yes, that's not officially an HRC event, but we do have a booth there, and you do a lot, Carrie, to make that booth happen. Because I've helped you lug some stuff over, and I know it's heavy. All right. Other announcements from commissioners, liaisons, others?
I will just announce, we were invited by email, all the HRC members, to go to the varsity and see the October 8th documentary that's showing there. I appreciated the recommendation. I went last night. I found it very helpful in understanding a lot of hurt that came to the Jewish community as a result of the U.S. response to October 7th. And I felt very sad for the college students who were featured in that film, for the experiences that they had on their college campuses, and it helped me understand some of the hurt in our community better, so I appreciate that recommendation.
Great, thank you, Laney.
I just
Okay,
have
others.
one
Dean.
thing, and this might, people in the community might bring it up as well, but on April 13th, there's going to be an event at the International House. It's called Beitna, which means our house in Arabic, and it's a gathering for Arab heritage, culture, and solidarity, and it's part of Arab American Heritage Month, which is April. So I hope all of you will come.
I'm just noticing that we may need some more seats. I don't know if that's possible or if there are any empty seats. Okay, there's one here, and there might be some over there in the
And
corner.
there's one there.
It's a hard floor, and so you're welcome to stand, but just if you'd like to sit. All right, any other than announcements? Seeing none, let's move on then to item number 4. This is public comment, and I just want to clarify that there will be an opportunity for public comment when we take up each item. For anyone who would like to give public comment now, we encourage you to do that, and we're grateful to receive it, but we ask that you speak only once on an item, so you can speak on it now if you'd like to, or speak later, but we just ask that you speak only once so that everybody has an equal opportunity to be heard.
Kevin, can you just clarify that it's a special meeting and not
Yes.
items on the agenda?
Carrie is helpfully reminding me that that is the protocol for special meetings as required under the Brown Act.
I'm gonna try and get some more chairs. So yeah, just to note that because of the change in location and date, this is considered a special meeting, so public comment will only be for items that are listed on the agenda tonight. And I will get some more chairs really quickly.
Right. Okay, just one further than like housekeeping business. We don't have a podium, so I think what we'll do is for those folks who'd like to give public comment, just please give it from where you are. And I'm seeing other questions or
There was no public comment on the agenda.
there's no
There was no
public,
public comment asked for the agenda, and the agenda item should be talked about approval of the agenda.
okay.
Because I want to talk about that.
Okay, well, feel free in this public comment period, anyone who likes to comment on the agenda as well. Yeah, so our normal practice is to allow for 3 minutes, just as a manner of sort of managing the evening. I might suggest that we try to do that in 2 minutes. I don't know if everybody here wants to give public comment. You're certainly welcome to and encouraged to. And if you do, though, I'm going to suggest that maybe we limit this to 2 minutes. Hopefully, that's not a major disability, and you can say what you would like to cover in 2 minutes rather than 3. But just for the purposes of facilitating the process of the meeting and making sure everyone is
I have a
heard.
point of clarification.
Sure, clarification.
So, the public comment can only be on something that is on the agenda, but you will also have time for each of us to speak on the agenda item during public comment?
That's right. There's basically 2 public comment periods, or multiple public comment periods, if you want to put it that way. There's a general public comment here for items that are on the agenda. There will also be a public comment opportunity when those items are taken up. So if you prefer to speak when the item is taken up, that's certainly fine. If you would prefer to speak now, also another option. But one one speaker per item, if you would. Okay, with that background, is there anyone who would like to offer public comment at this time? I see someone coming forward.
Hi.
Alan, feel free to come forward, but you can stay.
I'm back in the farmer's market, and I pass out these signs, love your neighbor, and it's 8 languages, so you're welcome here. I brought one for each one of the commission members, so if you'd like one, I have these 2 flavors. Also, on the agenda, if you will remember at the last meeting, I expressed great concern that they would take public comment out because we moved it from there to there. And everyone said, oh no, don't worry, staff will take care of it. Well, staff has removed general public comment this time. They have removed general public comment this time. This is the rules. Knew this would happen, and you didn't, and this is how the city suppresses things. They just move it one location to another, and they could allow general public comment, but they haven't. So that's the thing. This is the game that's played with staff controlling, using the Brown Act to limit public engagement. Third, I passed out a sheet. There's an NPR series called Embedded, and it has 3 series. It has a family that's caught, that's pulled apart by conspiracy theories, by differences. There's a QR code. It's very interesting. It's very empathic. What it shows is a father who believes something really sincerely and is losing his wife and his family. And it talks, and you hear their real voices. You hear the sister, you hear the wife, you hear the father, you hear the son, and they try to work it out. It takes you someplace different, and it takes you empathically. And I urge it, and I think about in my family, my Jewish family, how we're split on this worldview issue, and how hard it is to hold one another. And I recommend it to the commission, and I recommend it to the public to listen there, to figure out how we can hold one another, even as we're different, so extraordinarily different on these issues. So it's embedded with an NPR. I think it's a really important thing. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you for your comment. And just one point of clarification. Public comment is supposed to be directed at the commission as opposed to the audience. So for future public speakers, please, we invite you to speak to the commission rather than the audience. Okay, others for public comment at this time? Please.
So I just wanted to, this is an item that was related to a comment that was made, so it's on the agenda, but not technically.
Okay.
The movie The Encampments will be showing at the Varsity starting on Friday, and we invite all of you to see it. It is the perspective of Columbia University students, including the abducted student Mahmoud Khalil, who was taken by ICE, and that many of you have heard about. We really hope everyone in this room, including all of you, will attend that movie at the Varsity Theater starting this Friday and this week, and you can see it on the Varsity website.
Thank you very much for that. Varsity coming through with more great films. Okay, others then who would like to offer public comment? All right. Then if seeing no further public comment, Carrie, was there any, well, I think we're going to talk about public comment that we've received in writing on items on the agenda. So we will address that when it arises. Seeing no further public comment, then we're going to close with item 4, move on to item 5. This is the consent calendar, which is simply a approval of the minutes of the meeting of the last HRC convening. Are there any thoughts, comments, revisions, etc. to the minutes of the last meeting? If not, a motion would be in order.
It looked fine to me. If everybody else is good, I motion that we approve the minutes of the prior meeting.
Okay. Motion. Okay, motion by Laney, second by Amir. Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote on that. All those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions or nays? I don't see any. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right, we will then proceed to item 6, starting with letter A. I almost said number A. And this is our standing item, public forum on recent hate incidents in the Davis community. As you mentioned, there is a standing item that we like to offer for folks to come forward and alert us if we're not already aware, or for the commission members to discuss any concerns they have regarding recent hate incidents in the Davis community. In light of our time constraints this evening, I've suggested we try to limit this to about 10 minutes. If it needs more time, we'll try to accommodate that. But I am always grateful if there are not a lot of hate incidents to discuss. Nevertheless, if this is a time where if anyone would like to come forward, please do so, and then we'll have further commission discussion on this item. So is there anyone who would like to speak on the item of recent hate incidents in the Davis community? Amir.
Well, I just want to bring up an event that happened on campus on March. It was March 11, and as a context, it was a protest after the arrest of the Columbia student Mahmoud Al-Khalil. But there were some disturbing rhetoric during that meeting. I thought that I would be able to actually show the video, but I don't think that will work. So what I really want to emphasize is it was the main speaker during that event outlined the 6 principal values of the movement that seeks liberation for Palestine. And I won't go all of them, but I will emphasize the last one, which is support armed resistance by any means necessary to achieve that goal. And I think that that's a very dangerous language that we want to avoid. And we want to be aware of the fact that such, words are being used, on our campus. And again, this is like armed resistance by any means necessary, and we're talking about armed resistance against Zionists, or I would say ill-defined. Who can be the recipient of that armed resistance? So again, I have the video. I think that, that speaks better than anything that I can say. But unfortunately, this is not conducive for that. But I think that it's important that all of us are aware of that.
Okay, thank you, Amir. May I just clarify, this is a student at a protest?
So that was a protest organized, I think, by Students for Justice in Palestine and Faculty for Justice in Palestine that took place at the Quad, on campus grounds. And that was, I don't know who was the speaker, but it was the main speaker. Everybody was gathered around, and that was the main speaker. I don't know that individual, but that was obviously representing, and people were cheering, and it's concerning.
Mhm. Okay, thank you. Other members of the commission then who would like to discuss this issue? Well, I feel like since we've gone past to the commission members, I felt like there was no discussion, but if there's someone else who'd like to speak on that, please go ahead.
I just wanted to ask, how do you define a recent hate incidents? How recent?
I would, I wouldn't put a limit on it. Typically what we think of is since our last meeting, but, I think people should feel free to bring up their own definition of recency. I'm not going to limit folks. Okay. Thank you for the question, though. Okay, further discussion among the commission members.
The schools have been blessedly quiet, in my understanding, so I'm glad that this week I have nothing to report.
Good. Well, I know there's a lot of good work going on there. I'm glad to hear it. Thanks, Lenny. Others then for discussion? Like I said, I'm always grateful when there isn't a lot, but
Add to
please.
What he said, I was at the protest, but when the rhetoric is used that by any means necessary against, I'm only talking about the Zionists, I'm gonna address the elephant in the room, that is code for Jews, because I'm an observant Jew, and my sons wear the kippah, and they look obviously Jewish, and they won't ask, what's your political affiliation, are you a Zionist or not? They'll just assume automatically, because we're religious Jews, and they'll attack us for whatever reason. I would say that many years ago, we put up a sukkah, which is a booth. It's a religious item that's used on the religious holiday of Sukkot, and it was defaced by writing Free Palestine on it. There's a correlation over there in the sense that when they say Zionist, they means all Jews. So all Jews are basically under attack in this kind of environment.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Sir?
I would like to add something else. My name is Arik. Another really concerning item on the list of 6 items that were proposed there is to explicitly said, do not talk to anyone who is a Zionist. So continuing with this discussion, that's an effort to quiet down Jews and their identities. If I'm a Zionist, I'm not allowed to talk and I will not be listened to, which is a very troubling thing in my mind, and perhaps almost at the level of the comment about armed resistance.
I see. Okay, I have a hand here and a hand here, please.
Hi, I was just wondering if you could clarify what it is they're resisting.
Clarify what?
What it is they're resisting.
What is that they're resisting? It wasn't, so the whole, and you can, I'm happy to provide the video if you weren't there. It's about resisting to Israel and Zionism. So I assume, again, listening, that armed resistance is against Zionist Israelis, Israel, not well defined what is a well justified target and what's not.
Just to clarify, this is actually not supposed to be a dialogue between the public and the commission. That's why I thought what we were going to do initially was sort of open it up for public comment and then have discussion as we usually do after public comment with the commission members. I'm trying to allow people a little bit of an opportunity to have a little flexibility there, but I think we can't have the back and forth, otherwise we'll be discussing all night what somebody meant who wasn't there about something that somebody else said and how they might perceive it differently. But another hand here.
Hi, I grew up in Davis and I raised my son here now. He's almost 2 years old. And I was considering commenting, and I appreciate that Amir brought this to light, and I think it's really important that each of you on the commission watch the videos as they talk about not speaking to Zionists. And of course there are different definitions of Zionists depending on who you speak to. But I think the rhetoric of not engaging in dialogue, not humanizing someone, even if you disagree with them, is incredibly dangerous. And for me, as someone who lives in Davis, it makes me very scared to continue living here, thinking that educators are teaching people who are coming to Davis to hate me without knowing me. Not just hate me, but not even humanize me. Not even be willing to engage in dialogue. And another thing that they said in that video is, first and foremost, this is a violent movement. And if you don't agree with that, you are not a part of us. And you are not a part of this movement. And I think this is a very important thing to keep in mind when talking about the anti-Zionist movement. But we're not talking about disagreement and dialogue, we're talking about lack of dialogue as a core principle.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll take one more comment here, and then I think we'll bring to a close. If there are incidents of hate incidents.
I'm Stacey Bernhold, I'm a historian. We're not known for brevity, but I was there on March 11th, and I did see the demonstration, a little bit of context. First, public demonstrations and public speech in general in the MU Quad it's a free speech zone on our campus. It was a registered student demonstration. That what I observed was students who were demonstrating and exercising their First Amendment right to speech and speaking on matters of public concern in politics. Some of the slogans that we hear in the Quad and some of the slogans around Palestine stuff in general become the topic of a lot of national discourse. A lot of this national discourse puts the history kind of aside and stages these sort of ideas about hate, lack of dialogue, violence or not, what is resistance? These are the kinds of conversations we have, and those conversations lack context. What I saw was First Amendment speech by university students who were not directing themselves at the counter-protesters who were there filming them that day, who were speaking on a matter of public import, exercising their First Amendment rights in the Quad, and who were doing so despite the headwinds of people shoving their cameras in their faces. I had a camera shoved in my face. I'm a faculty member, I can take it. But that other bit about not talking to counter-demonstrators or counter-protesters also has a context. It's in the context of the 15 months or 16 months of abuse and photographing and doxing that has also been occurring with this community. So I'll stop there just to sort of like offer it up as someone who was at the demonstration and who saw something very different than what I just heard. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for offering that. I think we're gonna, if there is someone who would like to comment about an issue other than the event, I'm happy to sort of entertain that. I think we've had a little bit of back and forth about different perceptions about this particular event. There have been many speakers who are concerned about the speech. There was one person who added another perspective, but I don't know that there is more to be gained by other folks commenting about their particular feelings about this event. I think it's been well described. So unless there's somebody else who would like to offer another issue, and I want to really ask folks to limit themselves to the issue that we have on the agenda, which is recent hate incidents. Thank you. Please.
Thank you. I don't mean to add my perspective, I'm a Davis resident, but I think to have a meaningful discussion, I really recommend everyone in the room to go watch the movie October 8th. It's showing in Davis until Thursday, and it will give you a context about these demonstrations on campus and how they're related to other campuses, what is the organization behind them, and what is their purpose. I think everyone should see this movie.
Yes, that has been mentioned. Thank you. Okay, any other non-announcement issues regarding recent hate incidents? Alan?
I saw the October 8th movie. I
Alan?
urge everyone to go to it. It's very fascinating. It shows the worst of the protesters, which are dehumanizing Israelis. It also is an interesting technique where you see students and then they juxtaposition the pictures of the Nazis. They have pictures of the book burning, of the Nazis book burning, and then they say, you know who brought the books to the fires? It was the students. It has evidence of supposedly a Hamas conspiracy that's behind the Students for Justice in Palestine. You will see the evidence they have. They have a tape from 1993, a wiretap of theoretically Hamas talking about, that's from 32 years ago, that's the evidence. Look at the evidence, look at what they're talking about. It's very emotionally gripping. If you want to experience the fear in the Jewish community, you can experience that, but listen for the silence, listen for the evidence. Because there is an accusation that Jews for Justice in Palestine are Hamas funded and Hamas influenced. And I think that's a very provocative statement and it should be interrogated because Trump is militarizing that framework to deport students.
Okay,
Can
thank
I ask
you.
a point of order? Did you say that
There's-
individuals are limited to speaking on one topic one time, or are individuals limited to speaking once on each topic?
Let me clarify Robert's Rules of Order. Points of order apply to members of the commission, and not to the public. So I'm not going to entertain that question now. Thank you. And we're going to move on. Let me then, if there's no further comment or discussion among the commission, Lainey?
I think, let me just clarify in conversation with you. So we're asking people to speak on any issue that they would like to, but only once. So if you talked about it during public comment, one issue, do not talk about the same issue during item public comment. Is
Yeah,
that
I think,
correct?
right. The reason I'm not trying to split hairs here is that this is supposed to be a public forum. So it's a little bit different, I think. And I've invited people to come forward and talk about recent hate incidents. And I think in that context, people should have a little bit of leeway to react, to discuss. And I think we've had that conversation. And I've invited any further comments on other hate incidents, because I think we've had a appropriate discussion on this one. And seeing none, other than some film events or discussion about that, I'm going to suggest that we bring this item to a close unless there is further discussion among commission members about anything they've heard or anything they would like to offer. Okay. Seeing none, let's bring this item to a close. Thank you all for offering your comments. And we will have further opportunities for public comment, as I mentioned, in the rest of the agenda. So then, we are now going to 6D, committee updates. This is really the heart of our work here at the commission. And we have a number of commissions listed, and we'll take them up in order and allow public comment on those if folks would like. The first item, and there may not be a report from all of these committees.
I'm so sorry to interrupt. I just want to clarify, are you taking public comment at the end of all of the updates as opposed to each update?
I think we should probably allow for comments as these items arise.
Okay. We've done
Sorry.
both, so I just wanted to
Okay.
clarify.
Yeah, we're going to do it sort of at the beginning of each one.
Okay.
So the way this works, and other commissions and council follow the same protocol, which is there's sort of an introduction of the issue by staff or a member of the commission. Then there's an opportunity for public comment, and then there will be further discussion, informed by that public comment, as well as the commissioners' own perspectives. And we will have that discussion here at the table after the public comment has been received. So, the first item is the Committee on Campus Council and Community Diversity. This is Mr. Edgar Wong Chen. And Edgar, I don't know if you have a report or an update on this, but if you do, take it away.
Sure, there was a meeting that I attended recently, and it was actually a really nice meeting. I actually met with Megan afterwards. They're looking at new proposals for the community book project, which she leads, and so she's looking to actually further more engagement with folks within the campus community as well as the city community to kind of brainstorm more ideas and partnering of the community with the university to expand those projects. There were several other things discussed, but the biggest focus was the community book project. Do you want to add anything? Okay, thank you.
Edgar, can I just say that I read the community book every year, and I can make it to none of the related events except for maybe when the speaker comes to the Mondavi, because they're all like at lunchtime on a weekday. So if you just happen to care to pass along that the community could maybe be more involved if all of the events weren't at noon on a school day. That's all.
There was an evening dinner and reception thing for the recent book, Weathering.
Weathering.
Dr. Geronimus, I believe was his name. And I'll just offer that I wanted to participate and started the book, and I found it overwhelmingly depressing because it's hard read in a lot of ways. Needed.
Very good.
And
Two.
discussion for next year's topic?
Very good.
Next year.
They have not decided,
They've not
so if there are topics that folks want to
Oh, okay, right.
submit, they will consider.
Okay, great.
There could also be interaction with the schools if it was something that was like teenager appropriate. It'd be kind of cool to get the high school students involved in reading a book read if it was something that I could promote.
Okay. Before we have further conversation, then let me just open this item up for public comment. Is there anyone who would like to? Please.
Just really quickly, in the past, for the community campus book, we used to engage the PTAs a lot back in 15 years ago when some of us had children in the district. And I think it started out with the county, the city, the campus, and the school district. And I think having, re-engaging with the PTAs and encouraging PTAs to announce the book and engage to have even book clubs on. I know we have a former DJUSD climate person in the room, we won't name names, who for age purposes, when my kids were young, but who did come to the PTA meetings and talk to us about the book, and then we had book clubs. So maybe that's something you guys can think about or pass on.
That's good.
Great idea.
Thank you for that. Others who would like to speak on the item of the, that Edgar presented, Campus Council of Community University? Okay. Other than discussion by commission members? If not, thank you, Edgar, and Michael for the work and everybody who's involved in that project. I think it's a wonderful one. And my copy of the book Weathering is available at the public library because I turned it back in. All right, let's move on then to city holiday observances. Excuse me. This is Connor, Amir, Ms. Pickett, and Ms. Snow, who I think is not yet here, but is there a report from
We
the
do
committee?
not have any updates at this moment. We're still hoping that we'll get to maybe review some survey data when it's available, so we're kind of staying open for that purpose, but otherwise we don't have continued work at the moment.
Okay.
So, next.
Well, let me ask for public comment on this issue. This is the city holiday observances. Is there anyone who would like to speak on that? Please.
I would just like the committee to consider celebration of all the different backgrounds that we have here in our community, rather than washing all of our community members with one single celebration. That's the beautiful thing about having a diverse community, is we can celebrate everybody here. So.
Yeah. For those who haven't been part of this discussion before, in fact, we've had exactly that conversation, both here in the commission and in the committee, about how to straddle that, how to be inclusive without leaving anybody out. And because it's, as you say, a very diverse community. All right. If there's nothing further then on this committee on city holiday observances, let's move then to the civil rights ordinance process. And I can speak very briefly to that, but in light of the other time constraints, the committee has not had a further meeting, but will be back shortly with an update. Is there anyone who would like to offer public comment on the civil rights ordinance process? Okay, seeing none, is there other questions about my non-report? Okay, then if not, let's move ahead to the Cesar Chavez celebration coming up in April. And that is Connor Gorman, Dima Tamimi, and Edgar Wong Chen. I don't know who wants to start off that discussion.
I can give a quick update and then please Connor and Edgar jump in. Carrie as well. So we landed on April 26th as the date. It will be in Central Park from 10 to 12. And a lot of the programming is set, which is great. So there will be performances and things for kids. We are kind of working on getting more speakers. So I think that's one of the things that we have to continue to work on. So looking into speakers. We are going to have an opening welcome from the mayor, which is wonderful, and our Davis Poet Laureate, which is wonderful. And that's pretty much it. We had considered doing a discussion panel, kind of discussion in the Bicycle Hall of Fame. I'm not sure that that's going to come together this time around, but it is an idea that we think could be nice, is to sort of, after more of the outdoor activities, offer a little bit more of a panel discussion for people to talk about some of the issues around immigration, labor law, things like that. So if it doesn't happen this time, we're at least putting some of the groundwork for it for next time. Connor, Edgar, do you have anything to add?
I'll just add that, like, I think we were trying to keep things flexible with the changing times and changing policies, and so we were trying to leave spots open in case we want to bring in speakers to address things that are particularly pertinent to what's happening right in the news at that moment. So we're staying attuned to what's happening, especially locally, and so that's why we want to be able to keep some flexibility in it.
That's a great point. And also, there's the title, so that people know, is also relevant to the time. Si se puede, the power of collective action, is what we will be naming the event.
Great, thank you. Okay, let me open it up for public comment unless you wanted to.
I was just gonna say, there's a lot of people here. Who could people email if they had an idea or a suggested speaker or something like that?
I think that's, unless there's any reason why that's not technically okay, I think we can email the HRC email.
Yeah. Or you
With
can
suggestions
email
of
me directly,
speakers,
and
that
I'll
would be
forward it
wonderful.
on to the subcommittee.
Yes, there's an email address on the webpage of the Human Relations Commissions within the city's website. Great idea, thank you.
Thanks, Lady.
And si se puede, for those who don't speak Spanish, is?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. Okay. Public comment then
I'm
on.
getting tested on my Spanish. My kids went to Cesar Chavez, so I know.
That's okay. I know enough Spanish to get in trouble, but that's about it. Okay. Comment then on the Cesar Chavez celebration coming up April 26th. Please.
I think if he's available, Antonio De Laura Bressa is sitting over there.
I'm not available.
We thought of that.
He's been approached.
We tried. We tried our best.
Antonio has made his appearances.
Yeah, sorry.
He might have a little bit on his plate right now.
Jesse Ortiz from the Mexican American Concilio might actually be a good idea. I would just stick with that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
Great. Okay, others for public comment then on this issue. I'll just maybe observe that we call it the Cesar Chavez Day celebration. But as I think the discussion here is reflecting, despite the fact that it's far from the actual observance of the day, it means more to us than this one particular historical figure or the movement that he led. Because these issues continue to resonate and percolate in our communities, sometimes at a very high level. So I think that's all good. I really like the thinking that's going into the event, because it's not really about Cesar alone. All right, further discussion then on this item? If not, the next committee is on reporting of hate incidents or alternative methods of reporting hate incidents. This is Felix, Connor, and I. And I think, Connor, do you have any update at this point?
Yeah, I mean, the update is that we're continuing to work on like possible ideas for reporting hate incidents and what exactly that means, and like what could be done with those types of like discussions. since that's an important question as well, about like what is the purpose of reporting and how can you use it to create a more positive community. And then related to that, we're thinking about like language that could possibly go on the website around reporting resources. But it's just kind of a continuing process, and that is the main update at the moment.
Okay, thank you, Connor. Any public comment then on this item, this committee's report? Okay, seeing none, further discussion then with the commission members? I'm sorry, did you want to go back to public comment?
Yeah, just,
Okay.
there are already examples out there. So out there, I'm a faculty member at Sac State. There is a reporting tool that is working really well. I encourage you all to approach the university or myself. I'm happy to put you in touch with them. It's been through a lot of reiterations over the last year and a half, 2 years, and it's working pretty well.
Okay, I can just clarify that there has been presentations by the committee earlier, and including discussion of some of the other mechanisms that are existing out there, and that point has been noted, so thank you for that. Okay, seeing no further discussion then, let's bring this to a close. There's someone looking for a seat. Okay. Thank you, Carrie. That was the reporting on hate incidents, and now we have the Committee on Inquiry into Discrimination Against Arabs, Palestinians, Muslims, and Their Supporters and Allies, or MAPA, as it has been sometimes referred, Muslims, Arabs, Palestinians, and Allies. And we have a brief presentation, after which we will have public comment and discussion by commission members. And I think I need to get out of the way here.
You need to slide that way.
Scoot over a little bit, 'cause I'm right in the middle of the projector.
Oh, yes. We need to turn that on.
Hopefully I can do that successfully. I am not known as being great with
I
technology.
think as long as it's turned on.
There's a fan, but there's no light.
Oh, no, I think it's warming up now.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
There, it's coming.
Okay.
It just has to warm.
Perfect.
Some lighting adjustments. It's warming up.
Oh, it warms up.
Oh, like that one, yeah.
Is it possible? I'm wondering if we might.
See these lights?
Are lights dimmable?
Probably.
It's good though. We can see it pretty well.
You can?
Yeah.
Toward the back,
It's
so
pretty
you can see
good.
it?
Right?
There was a request to see if we can get some air. So maybe that. Yeah.
It might be that
Does
one.
it open?
Might be that. Does anybody know how this room works? Somebody suggested that maybe if we can just do that.
Are you using this? Can I push this over so that we can access this a little bit easier?
Yeah.
Good job, Lainey.
Important work as a vice chair.
I know how to flip the switch.
Okay. I had a request that I should raise my voice. I feel like I'm already shouting, but if there is anyone who can't hear, please let us know.
Can I get going?
Take it away,
All
Ms.
right.
Kaplan.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. We are part of a subcommittee who has been researching for several months on the climate in Davis and the experiences
of Davis residents within the MAPA community. And just to go over the acronym one more time, MAPA stands for Muslims, Arabs, Palestinians, and their allies. So our presentation today is a much reduced, shortened version of our longer report. So we invite everyone to access the full report, either with the QR code or through this Bitly account here. And I actually believe you can get onto the Senior Center's Wi-Fi as well if you need to. So very briefly, we have 3 main points. The first one, we're going to briefly go through our background and methodology of how did we look into this issue. Then we'll share some of the findings, including some direct quotes from people who shared their experiences and feelings with us. And then we'll finally get into recommendations. What would we like to see the city do in order to address some of the issues that we've uncovered here?
Okay. I did just want to note that some of the things that you saw on that first slide are not going to be covered. Raise my voice? Okay. Are not going to be covered today in this presentation. Again, a lot more in the full report. I'm just going to be going quickly through the background and methodology. We spent about 3 months gathering information. One of the ways we did that was through a qualitative climate survey, and I'll talk a little bit about why we went the qualitative route in the next slide. We also went through we had hundreds of conversations with community members who preferred to speak in person, and we also reviewed a lot of documents, letters that were provided to us, social media posts that were either screenshotted or that we were able to go and access ourselves. In terms of the demographical mix, we had a pretty even mix of Muslims, Arabs, Palestinians, and allies in terms of the people we were able to speak to or get information from via the survey. So we chose to go a qualitative route because Davis is not a giant community. And so we kept it sort of, we kept it localized to Davis. That's part of, the mandate of this commission. But because the population size is small, and because this group is a smaller group, and that's sort of compounded by the fact that this group is also very wary of taking surveys, putting any sort of digital record out there about themselves and what they're experiencing. Also, culturally, there's a lot of concern about complaining. There's just culturally, don't complain, keep your head down, manage, you're going to be just fine. And because of that, we knew that the numbers might be not huge, so we didn't want to go a quantitative route. I'll talk a little about how we addressed that in sort of the last point. And then the other thing was fear of retaliation is very real within this group, and so that's another reason why I thought we should go more a qualitative route than the quantitative. And because of the personal and sensitive nature of the survey responses and the letters and all the other materials we received that were submitted to us, we have redacted personal names and as much as possible tried to limit a personal name or identification by name. So in terms of the qualitative approach, because we took that, we wanted to provide some supportive quantitative research, which we feel is sort of a proxy for if we could do quantitative within Davis. So at the end of the report, you will see several quantitative research that has been done by organizations that were able to do more statewide, regional, or national surveys. So that is where you can combine quantitative data that seems to map to what we're seeing on the qualitative data. So I'll be kicking it off to Kevin, who's going to kick off the findings and highlight sections of our presentation.
Right, so I think you've already understood that this is just a compressed version of a longer report in light of our time constraints. But the first thing we have up here is just the form you've seen before, the word cloud, and it just sort of highlights some of the primary themes and responses or words that are used people use to describe their perceptions and experiences. And the next slide gets into some of the themes that came out of the information that we received. And you know, one of the things that struck me about this was that there was a lot of overlap between the feelings of folks in this community and others who are outside the community who have likewise had concerns about some of the tensions in town. But there were concerns about fear and discrimination, how that has landed with people. There is concern of retaliation. There is a sense that that people have been silenced or have silenced themselves or have been shut down in various ways regarding the concerns that they have, leaving them with a feeling of that their concerns are not important, that they have this sense of erasure, and that their identities are not valued. You know, one of the things that has come up frequently in our meetings at the commission and came up in our conversations with folks in this community was concerns about how the allegation of anti-Semitism is used. We're not going to resolve anything here about that. I know there are different views, but it has landed hard with folks in this community, and particularly Jewish members in this community, I would say. And there has been frustration that these concerns have not previously been recognized, acknowledged, or addressed. Again, not putting any value judgments on anybody's responses, whether you agree or disagree. This is what we found. And then, you know, the likewise concern that the city, and we've heard that the university is very much involved in a lot of these tensions, concern that the city and the university in particular have not been particularly responsive. So regardless of our own individual feelings about those things, that's what was reported to us.
Thank you. So for the next section, we're going to go through sort of the accounts and feelings. I want to note that these are direct quotes. They are either taken from surveys or emails or documents or conversations, and we have organized them by theme. This is one of the areas where we truncated the most. So there is a significant number of direct quotes in the actual report, so we encourage you to look at those. But I'll be going through the first two themes and then pass it off to Ellie, who will then pass it off to Kevin. So on the climate of fear and discrimination, as Kevin noted, the Davis MAPA community members, they reported high levels of discrimination, fear, and exhaustion, which is impacting their mental and physical health. I'll let you read the quotes, but I'm only going to read two of them and you can follow along. So again, this is a direct quote. The first quote I will read. I have experienced physical, verbal, and social media abuse such that I've been offered a police escort. This is how bad it's gotten. But I feel very acutely that the campus is offering me this one thing because I'm a faculty member. Students are receiving so much more hate and abuse, and they are not receiving protection or support, despite the UC's receipt of considerable funding from the state to offer redress for Islamophobia and anti-Semitism, etc. I won't read the middle one. You're welcome to read that on your own.
I cannot read from here. I don't know about others. I can't.
So if you scan the QR code, get on your phone.
Yeah.
And I can just read it. I think we have time. The second one is, I always need to be careful because something could happen to me. It took me almost a year to be comfortable wearing anything about Palestine. And then the last one is, I'm mixed in feeling. On the one hand, there are portions of the community that oppose racism and genocide against Palestinians and Arabs. On the other hand, there are vocal portions that actively espouse and incite racism against us, including a group that sets up at the farmers market right next to a kid's playground, spiting hate and inciting anti-Palestinian and anti-Arab racism and violence every week. I'll jump to the second theme, which was fear of and witnessing of retaliation. Allies and the MAP community members alike reported significant fear of retaliation for both complaining about discrimination or climate issues and for any conversations that indicated care for Palestinians. I'll read the first quote. I have made no formal complaints to the district, and I know other MAPA parents who have similar concerns because we fear retaliation against our children. We see retaliation against people that express solidarity with Palestinians all around us, in the news, at universities, and many of us have experienced it ourselves in both school and work situations. Second quote, people are fired for being open to Palestinian human rights and sovereignty. Only a semblance of the Palestinian people in Davis are willing to speak to this because of the retribution their loved ones might face in the Middle East. How do we protect this vulnerable community? And the last quote. I have witnessed and experienced surveillance and harassment by members of Aggies for Israel and Hillel at 90% of Palestine-related events on UCD campus, even if it be as simple as an informational event. Zionist members from the community, who are well known, rally behind these students and support their harassment, and are at times the ones leading. This has led to an increase in doxing of students in these organizations, which has threatened the safety and professional academic journeys of many students and community members.
All right, so I'm gonna talk about our third theme, and this I would say is probably the largest one that arose from our research, and this is there being a climate in Davis of silencing and erasure. So many people noted both direct and indirect pressure not to mention anything about Palestine or Palestinians. Many MAPA individuals reported being called a terrorist or a murderer and noted that as a form of silencing and a discrediting of them. There's also many incidences of dehumanization, erasure of culture, identity, and a disregard for their feelings. Overall, this has created an unwelcome environment where we have people within the Davis community who don't feel like they belong here. So I'm going to read the third quote, and again, I'm sorry we don't have time to read them all. I really encourage you to look at the full report because there are so many more. So the third quote up here, quote, December 12th, 2023, I was part of a coalition of voices asking the city of Davis to adopt an immediate ceasefire in Gaza resolution. When seated and when speaking, I was called a terrorist and asked why I would support murderers. I was photographed by people holding their phones very close to my face. I was challenged to explain myself by people too close for comfort in this crowded city hall chamber. Their aim was clearly to intimidate and create anxiety such that I would not speak publicly. Our fourth theme is the weaponization of anti-Semitism. I'm actually going to read the first quote first. Quote, it saddens me that people don't see that this weaponization of anti-Semitism is detrimental to both Palestinians and Jews. And a growing number of Jewish people are standing up against it because it is dangerous and is taking people's eye off the ball of true anti-Semitism that is growing and is at the heart of the wave of the right-wing white supremacist fascism that is growing here and all over the world. End of quote. Overall, on this theme, people spoke about how the definition of anti-Semitism has been expanded and twisted to include any criticism of Israel or the Israeli government or any support for Palestinian people. This hurts both Palestinians and Jews as it makes it harder to address real anti-Semitism as well as address the discrimination against Palestinians. This was especially heard from Jewish allies within MAPA.
Okay, so as you can imagine, given what we've heard so far, there's clearly in this group, we heard reports of frustration. And I'll just focus on the first one here in interest of time. But it kind of, for me, resonates with some of what we've actually heard in public comment tonight. The quote here is that the expectation is for MAPA communities to be extremely polite and engage in dialogue with people that have openly stated and informed the public that criticism of Israel is anti-Semitic. It's exhausting and so clearly unfair. The rest of the community watches silently in the hope that no one notices that they care about Palestinians out of fear of being labeled anti-Semitic or supporters of terrorism. So that is give you a flavor a little bit about some of the frustration that people reported. There was also, in the next slide, we touched on this in the introduction about concern regarding how the university and the city have not, in the feelings or the impressions of the people that have reported to us, given like due regard for the concerns that they've expressed or the experiences that they've had. I don't know if there's any particular quote that needs to be pulled out from here, but you can read them at your leisure, and given what preceded this, you can understand that there is that kind of frustration.
So overall, we are seeing MAPA individuals are feeling like their concerns are being ignored, especially by city leadership, and that this has all led to harm, distress, sadness, and disappointment. There is both subtle and overt forms of bigotry against MAPA individuals in our community that is harming both mental and physical health. There is a need for leadership from the City of Davis, DJUSD, and UCD to step up and address these concerns and these harms that are plaguing our community. There's a need to openly condemn the harassment, intimidation, and silencing, and work towards building back a sense of trust and belonging.
So I might actually say that this slide could even be the first slide in the presentation. Wise people have reminded us often that Davis is not a bubble, however much we might want it to be. And I have to say I have not delved deeply into this issue, but I am an avid reader of news and political news in particular, and compiling some of the history here was, I think, illuminating for me personally, because there is a larger national trend that folks have touched on tonight in some of the comments that we've heard that I think has implications here. There have been politicians who have joined with supporters of Israel, very much concerned about political protest and criticism of Israel by labeling it as hate speech, by labeling it as support of terrorism, by seeking to make it illegal, by alleging that is anti-Semitism. One of the, I think, truly incendiary allegations that one can make. And by punishing and threatening those who engage in it or allow in it, our universities, some of our public officials, etc. And of course, as the recent news has shown us, by using immigration policy to remove people from the country because of their exercise of free speech rights on a political issue. There's more here about how the Republican-led House has adopted resolutions defining anti-Zionism as anti-Semitism by requiring that federal investigations use standards that even conservative legal scholars are concerned violate free speech rights. Both of those resolutions were supported by our local Congress member, which, has got to land hard for folks who don't share those views. We've got executive orders from the president. We have threats from the president who has sent letters to 60 universities, including UC Davis, threatening the loss of federal funding. And of course, a lot of those universities have had students and professors who are targeted for immigration enforcement based on the content of their speech. So I think it's just important to kind of keep that in perspective. There have been, other groups online that have made it a point of trying to identify people that they see as anti-Israel and blacklisting them. And there are websites out there. I have to say I was shocked to find this website called Canary Mission, and I know it's not the only one, but it has been prominent. Maybe you've read about it, and it'll allow you to search any university. You can click on UC Davis, and you can see a list of pictures and descriptions of UC Davis students and professors, and there are dozens of them who are alleged to have done things that this group finds offensive. And this group also takes credit for being responsible for alerting the Secretary of State to people who ought to be deported, and claims to have had success in that. So that's just a little bit of context that I have to say I wasn't really fully aware of until I delved into this a little bit. And it's just, I think, worth understanding that there is a bigger picture for us to consider.
Thanks, Kevin. So I'm going to jump into the recommendations. Before I do, I did want to note, since we're getting toward the end part of the presentation, some of the things that we did have to cut were things like social media and newsletters, which there's a lot of content in the report around that. School age programs that came up, we wanted to make sure that DJUSD and school age programs were looked at. And also we saw some response patterns, so you will find that in the report. But I'll move into the recommendations, and I get to start with some of the positive things we saw. We're seeing that there has been some steps that show that these are sort of stepping stones to the recommendations. One of the things that also came up was a kind of an overarching theme that came through was that this community feels incredibly hurt, but there were several notes about how they still love Davis. They feel that Davis is a great place to be and has lots of good people, and they just want Davis to do better. And they think that the leaders showing more solidarity and support can help heal some of the hurt from the inaction they've shown so far. Another positive thing that came up was the sort of overt aggressive harassment on campus and within the community does seem to be mostly by a small group of known and identified people. The more subtle forms of bigotry, though, that are happening online and offline and in conversations, that discrimination is more widespread. One positive thing that we just had this week, as of yesterday, was the City of Davis did for the first time a proclamation for Arab American Heritage Month. That was greatly appreciated by many in the MAPA community, and it was a show of solidarity. And DJUSD has done some efforts that we wanted to note. So they had created a Muslim staff constituency group this year, and they've offered professional development credits for people to take Middle Eastern history talks that have been offered on campus. And so those are some positive steps we've seen. With those positive steps, though, we think that there's more that can be done. I'll be walking through the City of Davis recommendations, then I'll pass it on to Ellie, who will go through some other recommendations.
So I have to, I'm sorry, but I just want to make it clear, are we going to be asked to vote on any recommendations?
Yes.
So why were we not provided that report ahead of time? I feel like this is not allowing me or anyone else.
Can you want to hold that until we are open for public comment?
No.
I mean,
No, that was not on the agenda. It was part of a 30-minute, chunk of time. You put it in front of what was supposed to be. There, people came here in order to comment about certain things that were supposed to be at 7 o'clock. And you were asking us to vote on a very long and, report that we were not, had the opportunity to review.
thank you, Mayor. You'll have a chance to speak to any issues that you'd like to as soon as Dima and Ellie have finished providing their summary. And by no means are you being cut off. It's just not the time yet.
He did.
Except you are.
Sorry.
Would anyone else like to interrupt the presentation? The folks are just trying to give a presentation. There will be a full opportunity for the public to comment and for Amir and all the other commissioners to comment as well. May we please continue?
Yes.
We're
and
almost near the
We
end.
are in the recommendation portion, so I will continue. So for our second recommendation, we would like to see more of a commitment to solidarity with this group by the City of Davis. So, or wait, did I even get to do the first one? Yeah, let me start with the first one. Sorry. Okay, so for the first one, we would like to see, based on what we heard from people, an acknowledgement of anti-MAPA discrimination in Davis. So while the City of Davis did work to recognize the Arab American Heritage Month, that was much appreciated. We do feel that what has come up in these results is that there's still a need for an acknowledgement of the anti-MAPA discrimination that has happened here in Davis since 2003, and it has not been addressed. And we have seen the City Council do this when needed, and so it is an expectation. The second recommendation is a commitment to solidarity by the City of Davis. Many feel that a commitment to demonstrating solidarity and care for the MAPA community going forward is needed, but also, as part of that, a further commitment is needed to explain that political speech is protected, and that does include speech on justice for Palestine. Our third recommendation is that the City Council review and respond to this report in a public session, and we would like them to do that as soon as possible.
Great. We also have 3 recommended series of meetings and trainings that we would like the city to commit to. The first would be a set of meetings actually between the Davis City Manager, DJUSD, and UCD administrators. So they have a chance to read and reflect on this report and make a plan going forward with check-ins with ourselves here as a HRC, as the full HRC. Fifth recommendation is a commitment by the city to integrate anti-Palestinian racism training for all city council members and city staff as part of their regular professional development requirements. Lastly, we would like to see a facilitated meeting within the Jewish community around anti-Semitism to start to address the deepening rifts in that community. In particular, starting to make a plan to work towards addressing anti-Semitism without silencing speech regarding Palestinian justice.
Okay, and then we finally have a couple additional suggestions with respect to the school district and the university as important partners in the community, recognizing that they have taken some steps and suggesting that there might be additional work that could be done. Of course, we have no formal role with respect to the school district or the university, but we do think it would be helpful if there were conversations between them as stakeholders with the city. Okay, and there finally, the proposed action items have been consolidated on one slide so that folks have the opportunity to review them as they wish. All right, with that, thank you to Dima and Ellie. And I think what we want to do now is to invite public comment on this report from the committee. And I'm just going to take hands as I see them. We have one here.
I have 3 sentences. Number 1, apparently, by any means necessary includes lying. Number 2, how dare anybody make a recommendation what the Jewish community needs to do inside of it in terms of anti-Semitism or anything else. What the Jewish community does within it is not going to be because of a recommendation of the HRC in Davis. And number 3, how dare this Human Relations Commission become a propaganda vehicle, and you are part of it.
I have a hand in the back.
What happened to the items 6A, 6B, and 6C?
We were coming to those after this item.
But we've been waiting.
Why-
I
why-
haven't put my child to
Where did
sleep.
they- I don't get where they went. I mean, are they gonna be discussed? Or?
I'm trying to respond to the question.
At-
They'll be discussed after this item.
We did
Why?
vote to
So-
approve a change in the agenda order because often with our meetings, we don't get to all of the actual work of the committee that is ongoing work.
It was not said that there will be a half an hour long presentation.
That's fair.
It does say
Question
that the
here.
subcommittee
Sorry,
will.
no, I have a hand here.
It was half an hour.
I still say before you, this apparently is not on the agenda, and to spend, I don't know, half an hour, 45 minutes on something nobody anticipated that was very well presented is totally unfair, discriminatory, and this is not what the Human Relations Council is all about. It's extremely biased, and you need to really think about what you're presenting and doing.
All right, thank you very
It's not
much.
discrimination.
Next, please, yes.
I wanted to thank the subcommittee, as I understand that this is a subcommittee.
Sorry, Reem, I forgot, just 1 minute. I just want to interrupt and say all the beeping you're hearing is me just timing all of the public comments. So my apologies when I interrupt you. I'm starting now for 2 minutes. Go ahead, Reem.
Thank you.
And I'll try to slow down. Thanks, please.
Give my 10 seconds. So, I want to thank this subcommittee. I do understand that this is a subcommittee that reached out to a specific community to gather data, and that was very much appreciated. This is a topic that has not been ever addressed in this city before, and the fact that it was given the time to address, which was a clearly marked agenda item, which I appreciate, and then obviously I understand that all committees were given time and as much time as they needed to present their reports, so I appreciate that. Second of all, I really do hope that the city of Davis, the county, the DJUSD, and University of California, Davis will address this, look at it very closely, and have a conversation about it, because it has never been addressed. I've been in this town since 1987 practically, and it's a long time, and it has never been addressed this thoroughly, and I greatly appreciate you guys taking the time to reach out to so many different groups, including allies who are speaking on this and feeling attacked, who are not Arab, who are not Muslim, who are not Palestinian, but we greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Point of order, please. There is not to be any clapping, cheering, booing, anything like that. Please just respect what the people say and go to the next person.
Yes, thank you. Okay, I have here, 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 and then here.
Yeah, I just want to say I really appreciate the work that has been done and a clearly marked agenda item. And it's been a difficult topic for a lot of people for a lot of reasons. And I hope that this group of people respect the HRC in approaching this task thoroughly. And I really encourage that we hopefully hear a vote to recommend this report to the city. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Back here.
So my name is Shula Glazerman. I actually came to speak about the May 29th Jewish Heritage event, but it got changed, and all of this stuff about the anti-Semitism and the presentation that you just did compels me to speak on that issue. I was actually at the March 11th SJP event. I was there to document it. I was not masked. I did not wear any identifying clothing to signify that I am a Zionist or a religious Jew. I didn't have any clothing on, I didn't have any signs, I didn't yell any slogans. And I was there to document it, because to me, what I saw SJP do and say is hate speech. And I'll just read a few things that they said, totally masked with little slits for eyes. Israel is a terror state, smash the Zionist settler state. We don't want no two states, we want all the 48, which is also a reference to like from the river to the sea, which is a code for the destruction of Israel and the removal of all Jews from that land. We won't pay for Israel's slaughter. These are some of the images and slogans that were being screamed at this event by masked protesters with very provocative signs and slogans. So I'm one of the counter-protesters that the historian referred to. I'm an aspiring Jewish grandmother. I'm a retired teacher. I have 4 college-age students, children, so I care about what's happening on campus for Jewish students. And what I experienced at that event was actually, I had umbrellas pushed in my face. I went in to observe what was happening in Wilman Hall. I was not planning to say anything. I had not said anything at the event. And I was blocked at the door of the building by masked students who targeted me for discrimination. So I want to say that I think that this presentation that you made is totally misguided, and it mischaracterizes how Jews are responding to the conflict and what's been happening for the last 18 months.
Okay, thank you. I believe we were here and then here.
Yeah, so let me just say that I think that any legitimacy that the HRC could have has vanished in my eyes, and that includes the chairperson of the HRC, who I say clearly has shown his bias. So let me just address a few factual issues. The booth that's referred to at the farmer's market is a booth about hostages. I've been there on many occasions. It is not at all as characterized in this presentation. That's the first thing. I was also there at the December 12, 2023 City Council meeting, as well as some other council meetings. And again, this is this bizarro universe where the exact opposite of what occurred is alleged. In fact, there were many more people in favor of Hamas and SJP than there were others, and I don't believe that there was any intimidation of the larger group by the smaller group. That is absolutely false. Secondly, this notion that people think that any criticism of Israel or the Israeli government is anti-Semitic is a straw man that is constantly used. I'm critical of the Netanyahu government. I'm critical of things that have happened in Israel. But in fact, the threats of violence in this community, on this campus, are very clear. Has anyone ever heard of Gemma DeCristo? Has anyone ever heard of Kazumi Chin? When on March 11th, they talked about violence against Zionism and saying, if you do not embrace violence, and maybe you should actually view the video before you make your comments. If you don't embrace violence, you're not part of our movement. Art, literature, I will quote, art, literature, and existence are not good enough. You have to embrace violence.
So I'm going to ask you to wrap it up. Thank you.
Well, I can certainly wrap it up, but I guess after a 45-minute presentation, it's difficult to respond to all the falsifications in the period of 2 months.
I'm going to move on so others have a chance.
Yeah,
Sir, you're next.
Yeah, my name is Barry Klein, and I'd like to address something very specific in the report.
Please.
And that's the word Zionism. It's known that 80% of the Jewish people identify themselves as Zionists in one form or another. And the vast majority of those who identify as Zionists do it in the biblical sense of the aspiration for a homeland in the region that Israel is right now. It doesn't talk about politics, it doesn't talk about boundaries, it doesn't talk about Gaza, it doesn't talk about Lebanon or Syria. talks about the aspiration, the biblical aspiration of the Jewish people to have a homeland. So when you're attacking Zionism and threatening to kill Zionists, you're threatening to kill all the Jewish people and all the people who identify as Zionists, which are 80%. So my request is to take all those references out of your report because it's very offensive to the Jewish community and it shouldn't be perpetuated in something that comes from this commission. And I thank you for that.
Thank you for the comment. There's a hand back here, and then we'll head over here. I don't want to forget you guys. There was a hand in the back.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much for doing this report. Something that I want to bring up is that it really upsets me that community members are criticizing this report. These are people's truths. That's plain and simple. I think we as a community here in Davis should listen to each other's truths. Your truth might be different than my truth, but minimizing the truth of people who are speaking from fear of retaliation, from fear of hate, and being called horrific things is just the same as your fear that I've heard from other people in this room who talk about their fear as well. So let's stop minimizing other people's lived experiences and accept that this is how people in our community feel and learn how to come together and have a conversation. Not everyone's going to want to have a conversation. There'll be some people that will. Let's work on that instead of sitting there and going after people again and again and again. This needs to stop. How are we helping build up our community? By attacking each other. We need to stop and listen.
All right, thank you for that comment. Here, 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 and then we'll come over here.
Is it me?
Yes, sir, I'm sorry.
Okay, let me first say, if there is a discrimination, I think it should be addressed. No questions about it. Continuing from this discussion here, that is not the way to do that. The way is to talk and not to present a presentation for 30 minutes that should be as part of the 30 minutes for all community, or all committees, subcommittees, to discuss what they're doing, where there are people who came here to talk about specific items that I care about. I have a wife that is sick and a child, 5-year-old child with pneumonia at home. I'm happy that I'm here to see that. This is not the way to do that. The way to do it is through discussion. We are actually, a lot of the comments here are aspiring for discussion. We want to talk. We want to hear what you have to say. We don't want you to enforce that on us. We don't want to tell the Jewish community what we feel. We don't want to tell the city what to decide. If there is an issue, it should be addressed. Discrimination does not have space here in Davis. This is not the way to do that. You are trying to hijack a meeting to promote an agenda rather than to find a solution. I completely, absolutely disappointed with this approach. I had some belief that this committee, the HRC committee, has credibility, and just like was said here, I'm losing the credibility, you are losing, sorry, the little credibility that I may have for you before, it's completely lost. As a Jewish member of this community, I do not feel part of this community anymore. I don't feel like the human relations committee care about me. As a Zionist in this community, I do not feel like you care about me. This is not the way to do it. Come to my home. Let's sit down, have coffee, have tea, have cake with it, and let's talk. Please, I honestly invite you to do that. I don't want you to tell me what to feel and how to do it. I don't want you to tell my leadership, whether here on the community, on campus, or the DJUSD, what to do with your decision and your approach.
Thank you, sir. And we have here and here. Thank you. Yes, please.
I just wanted to say thank you again for this presentation.
Can you speak up, please?
I want to say thank you for the presentation. I'm a Davis community member, also from Sarah. I even got to celebrate. I do wish it was unconservative vote. However, it's not a subject that's been brought up. Maybe that's why it's a little longer than usual. But it was informative, and I appreciate that you're giving us be heard.
Okay, thank you for your comment. And we'll go to your neighbor next door.
So I am a Muslim student here, one of very few Muslim veterinary students here in Davis, and I just want to really thank you for giving this presentation and this report. Like you mentioned, the majority of the people who are harassers and intimidators are identified, and we know that many of them are grown adults, community members in positions of power in Davis. And so as a student, and as somebody who's been a student in Davis for the last 8 years, I know that students feel frightened. We feel that we cannot speak up because of our vulnerable position. And to people who are saying that, you know, we want to hear what you have to say, we want to hear your experience, we want to hear your truth, we want to have a discussion, well, this is it. These are our voices, this is what we had to say, and you have given vulnerable community members a way to say that and, you know, be honest and still feel safe. So I just want to say thank you for doing all of this research, doing all of this work, and giving us a voice here in Davis. So I really appreciate that.
I'm gonna go to this side of the room because I feel like I've been ignoring folks because you're in my blind spot, but let's go here and then here.
Thank you. I appreciate the hard work that went into this. I think it was very well presented, and I think it's really important to do projects like this with a commission, like the Human Relations Commission. I am surprised, having been a part of the community who've been asking for a very similar inquiry into anti-Semitism for over a year now, that was not taken out. I'm not sure if it was discussed. Since we have made those requests, there have been graffiti saying "Death to Israel," "Kill the Jews," Hamas propaganda, headbands on campus, glorification of mass murderers on campus and around town. There are people on the commission who are involved in groups that are filled with hate, and I'm really disappointed that a lot of the things that were presented in this report, I was at myself. The last time I was at the booth, Dima was leading a protest past us, holding very hateful, very frightening messaging. And I was holding my baby. He was about 1.5 years old, and it was terrifying. They went past us twice. Like was said earlier, it was a booth giving information about the hostages. Personally, my messaging always is one of peace. That's the way that I was raised. It is always one of dialogue and trying to find shared truths, trying to find shared perspectives. And I hope that you guys have actually gone to that booth and seen the anti-Semitic booth that is just a couple stalls down, that we've been very actively requesting that some attention be given to, where they are spreading the same kind of vitriol and blood libels that was shared to dehumanize the Jews before the Holocaust. And thank you.
Thank you for your comment. We'll go here, and then I think there was somebody here. We'll go back over here.
I feel kind of sandbagged here. A subcommittee report becomes an action item where members of your own committee feel like it hasn't been adequately vented. From my sense of the room, many members of the community feel like it hasn't been fairly vetted. I think it's important work. I know that there, within the Muslim community and the Jewish community, there is a lot of pain in this community. We are very far away from the front in what's been going on. And we need to learn how to live together. And that's what I think the most important mission of this commission should be. And when you have a group of people saying, where did this come from? This isn't what I thought the meeting was going to be about. I don't know how you can take action at this time. You have a committee member.
So this is public comment. Amir, please, we're going to have a discussion among the commission members shortly. We're going to recognize here, and then we're going to back in the corner.
I wanted to thank the subcommittee for taking this on. I know it was difficult. You're facing obviously a lot of backlash that, in my opinion, is meant to silence this work. Thank you for this work. Thank you, Dima, for your work that you've been doing this whole time. I just have to address the farmers market. I was part of that protest. We simply were holding up signs, let Gaza live, let Gaza eat with empty plates. When when thousands of aid trucks were being stopped at the border and not allowed in. So Palestinian children and families are being intentionally starved to death. And we're sitting here stressing out about the fact that this thing happened to be one item ahead of the next subcommittee report, which is on anti-Semitism. Equally important, obviously, and this subcommittee happened to be so thorough, they took a whole half an hour with all of the good work that they've done, and we have nothing but complaints from you people? What is wrong with you? I'm sorry. like-
You all with the big nose.
I'm talking about the people who have made these.
Hold on.
I'm sorry, but I think it was inappropriate to be attacking folks on this committee, and I'm sorry that I'm getting a little bit defensive about it.
Hey, no one else has been interrupted, so just let folks speak, huh?
Not if they're
Everybody else.
disrespectful. There
Maya,
needs to be
no,
some level of
Maya,
respect.
no one
We need to
has
have
interrupted
order,
you.
we're gonna have to take a recess
No
in
one-
this meeting.
Okay,
fine.
so no one has interrupted you, Maya, or anyone else, even though you disagree. We get it. I understand. There are disagreements in the room.
I know my time's up. I just wanted to thank the committee for all the work. Obviously, it was a lot of effort, and I think it's a really important issue when voices are being shut down and silenced, that we do look at all of those different sides. I'm glad we have all these subcommittees doing this great work. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go here and then to the corner.
I don't envy any of you. I don't think this was an easy thing to take on in the national discourse. It's not resolved on any level, on any platform, on a global level. This conversation that we're having, we're not gonna solve it in this room in the Davis Senior Center. I do wanna say, I'm speaking only for myself as a brown Muslim American woman born and raised in this country, that in my entire life, until I received this survey, no one had ever asked me ever in my entire life, even after 9/11, what my experiences were. And this was the first time I felt like someone gave a damn. And so I'm really appreciative for that, because many of the comments that I just saw the report for the first time were relatable. And I'm not actually very actively involved in anything, I'm just too busy. But being asked a question, what is your experience living in this town, to me is a great way to learn about what people are going through. There is an incredible amount of both Islamophobia, anti-Arab sentiment, and anti-Semitism. I have Jewish family, so I know that that is a real and present fear for a lot of people. I get it. We get it, and it doesn't mean that we should stop and not do research there. I'm just saying, as one person, as a Muslim American, this is the first time anyone asked me my opinion. And I didn't even take the survey, which I'm sorry I didn't, but I was, again, my email's flooded. But, so thank you so much. I know you have a really hard vote to make, but I hope that as someone who feels like a super minority, very often, being heard means so much. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Okay, we're going to go back here in the corner, and then we'll come down to the left here. Thank you. Yes, please, in the red shirt.
Yes, I just also wanted to, I'm a member of the community, I just also wanted to thank the committee for the work. What I heard was a lot of people's experiences, and I think that's what this commission should do, is hear what people feel and think. And I see nothing in those proposed action items that says anything which is anti-Zionist, which is pro-violence or pro-terrorism. They're all saying we should take these concerns seriously, and let's listen to them, and let's learn more. And I just want to say that, so I just think I don't understand the rejection, because what that feels like is another attempt at silencing, which is precisely what one of the experiences was that came out as one of the themes. So I think we should listen to these experiences, say, these are experienced people, there's things to be taken seriously, here are some good recommendations to take them seriously. And that does not mean that there are not other experiences. We have communities, 2 communities hurting, many communities here hurting. I know I have Jewish family, and they're hurting too. And I hope this commission will also address their concerns and their hurts and pains. But these things should not be exclusive. So I really recommend taking these proposed action items and endorsing them. It seems like one step forward, and it's not the only step forward. We need to do other things too.
Okay, thank you for your comment. I think we had a hand here in front. Yes.
Many people here run a busy life. Yeah, I have a full-time job. I have 3 kids. We're all committed to something. I want to say I work on campus and I saw a lot of advertisements about almost 20 different events, very diverse to celebrate the Arab American Heritage Month, which is now in April, and 0 events to celebrate the Jewish American Heritage Month, which is coming up next. So I was so excited and happy when I saw on the agenda that this is on the agenda at last. We have a positive way to celebrate the contribution and bring joy to the community. And I think this is not by mistake that this item B, that so many people here came with joy to celebrate and support, is pushed to the end, and instead we're getting the lowest of the lowest Instagram account of blood labels against Jews in Israel. Why is it supposed to be like this? Why it has to be? Why are you letting this happen?
Okay, thank you for your comment.
I'll talk with you later one by one and talk about all the lives that we've heard here today.
Ma'am, I'm going to ask you to address your comments to the commission, and if you have more, okay, thank you. I have a hand here, and then we'll go here.
I just want to say that I am deeply hurt because there are some people in this room that feel constantly the power that they can run the timer. They can talk for more than 2 minutes. They can interrupt. Others of us barely have the courage to raise our hands. I think you should take this into account when you're thinking about how to vote. Because some of us have louder voices, have stronger backbones. Some of us have no backbones.
I'm going to just apologize if I have left anyone feeling that they've been treated unfairly in the presentation. I'm trying to give folks an opportunity to speak and give everyone sort of an equal opportunity. I have let some people go on a little bit longer because I don't want to get in a shouting match with somebody, basically. But if you have more to add?
I just have a follow-up.
Sure.
I want to say that I want to listen to everyone. I believe in listening. We should all be listening to each other. We are all hurting, but there will be no peace if we don't listen to each other. If we come here and say you're wrong and I'm right, if we come here and we think that like some of us, their pain doesn't matter and it's only our pain, and I understand we both sides, and I'm not really part of either side. We have so much historical pain. I understand that and I respect it. I feel for the Jewish community and all the pain they've gone through. I'm not at all like diminishing any of it. But there's pain on the other side too. And there will be no progress and no peace if we don't all listen to each other.
Thank you for your comment. I think I had a hand here, and then we'll go behind.
Hi. I first of all want to say thank you so much for that amazing presentation. It was wonderful. I'd urge everyone to check the agenda also before attacking our council members. I want to say I grew up in Davis. I know that growing up here, I had friends and classmates who were Palestinian, who were Arab, who were Muslim, who felt silenced, like they couldn't talk about their experiences. And I want to just contextualize everything that we're talking about here. Every day I see more students who are being abducted by ICE for no reason at all, for not even being involved with the protests necessarily, just being associated, and for just being disappeared suddenly and sent to other states, being deported. And under the same law that decades ago, under the McCarthy, was used to investigate and deport Soviet Jews who had escaped the Holocaust because they were suspected of being communists. So if we contextualize that, and then also remember that in the last 20 years, we have seen now 2 Muslim bans by President Trump, and we continue to see police, even now, but especially not that long ago, persecuting, targeting Muslims and Arabs or any brown person who was suspected of being South Asian, and just disappearing them or investigating them, surveilling them. So that is the climate of fear that was talked about in the presentation. That's part of it, is this climate of fear. And so, some people feel comfortable speaking up, but we have to remember, why so many people are afraid, and that the power imbalance that's going on with our government and our past government. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think there was somebody in the back. Yes. please, and then we'll come down here.
I don't dispute that it is painful for both sides. And this is exactly what I think many of us are frustrated. This is important. I'm not going to come and undermine the work that you did, whether we think it is there are lies or no there are lies. This is the whole problem. It requires way longer time than for us feeling that you hijacked the previous item. Maybe you did vote it before, but you didn't explain it, that it is going to be so long. And it doesn't feel that you do respect the lady there that says that it is it's this instead of the second item. It's not the next item that we are talking about. It's the previous item that were pushed back. And this is what we came for. I also have a kid that I need to go and take care of. And I came here for my time, but you don't even talk about it. And you don't give us the opportunity, like Maya asked, to talk about this item. So this is our frustration, and it's not about whether both sides have the right to express their pain. This is the whole problem with this conflict, that we are not talking, and we should talk.
Thank you for
And
your,
listen to each other.
yeah, okay, thank you for your comment. Here, please, woman in the middle.
Hi, I'm Todd Joseph. I've been in this community for 50 years. I've been teaching this community for 50 years. And I've seen students debate these issues in reasonable, ethical, moral ways. I would like us to follow our students because they can sit in the classroom and talk to each other in reasonable ways. I want to thank the commission and thank the subcommittee for this very, very important report. And I encourage us to think of data as data. What they are reporting to us is data. Meaning, what are these people saying that they feel, that they experience, that they live in this community? Social justice is not a zero-sum game. What I mean by that is that justice for one should not take away from justice for the other. And I think what this report is attempted to do is to make visible another part of our community that is felt invisible, so that they can be part of under the umbrella, under the rainbow, under the protections of social justice. So please let us not think that the voicing of the feelings and experiences of one erases the other. That is not the way social justice works. Social justice should encompass us all.
Okay, thank you for your comment. We'll go here and then over to the corner, please.
I can't believe I'm coming after Dr. Joseph, and she just basically said what I wanted to say. I'm not coming after you. I mean, it's very hard to follow that because it's exactly what was on my mind and on the minds of some of the other presenters that I've heard here. Just a little earlier in this meeting, I was describing how a free speech event in the Quad on campus with counter protesters is a really challenging place for dialogue, right? So I was kind of talking about that earlier, and I just wanted to sort of think about the way that this report has caused me to reflect on conversation and on the value of conversation as both speaking but also listening. And I'm very humbled and grateful to the committee's work for making space for folks who have had these experiences to share those experiences. I believe that this report, these action items don't suggest that this is a fly-by-night vote and then done, that this is the beginning of a new conversation about this topic, one which doesn't sort of fail multiple tests for real conversation. And I also just want to sort of reflect on the fact that we're all sitting in this room talking about this, and this is an honest conversation of the sort that I would love to see on my campus or in more public spaces. And it's just one of what will hopefully be multiple more conversations and honest discussion about these issues. So thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Right here, please.
Hi, I'm a resident of Davis. I am a Jewish Israeli American. Until like the last year and a half, I didn't really have when I'm growing up, I never had too much contact with Muslims, even after moving to the U.S. and Davis. I think it always felt like a barrier that was almost impossible to cross, and as a result, even as an adult, I never was really too